What's good, yo? It's your boy Havoc. Final round. We about to break the post-fight down. Ruiz versus Ortiz. But first, I want to thank my subscribers. We hit one of the two requirements in order to monetize my channel, and that's the watch time and hours needed to do so. So all I need to do is get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm about 500 to 600 off right now. Hopefully we'll get there by the end of the year or early next year. And I can monetize the channel. I can reinvest that money that I make and put it into creating more boxing content and making it better for you guys. I'm gonna do it on 3 fronts: as a fan, as a teacher, and as a competitor. So you're gonna see all different 3 elements, or me dipping my toes in all my videos into these 3 different elements. And be on the watch out. I'm gonna have sparring footage coming out. I'm gonna be breaking down techniques. I'm gonna be talking about different sparring scenarios. The first video that's going to come out is going to be how to spar a novice. And if you're a novice, what to expect when you go into sparring for the first few times. And, talk about everybody's perspective, my sparring partner's perspective, the trainer's perspective. And we'll go through these scenarios of different sparring situations on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. The next week it might be how to spar against the southpaw, or how to work against a tall, rangy opponent, or how to deal with a pressure fighter or a slick fighter. So it's gonna be like that. But the first video I'm hoping to put out today or tomorrow, it's how to spar against a novice, or if you're a novice, what to expect when sparring for the first time. But anyhow, let's get to the fight. I was leaning towards Ruiz. I wasn't able to make some pre-fight videos, very busy this week, but I like Andy Ruiz. I know a lot of people are deceived by his looks. He looks like the Marshmallow Man, but there's something in boxing you have to understand. Do not let looks deceive you. A boxer can look like a boxer sometimes, but sometimes a boxer doesn't look like a boxer, and they can be very effective in the ring. You look at Triple G, a lot of people are probably looking at him if they didn't know who he was, which a lot of people probably don't. But if you just saw him in the streets, you probably think this is some goofy guy, right? But you would have no idea he's an absolute mauler and killer in the ring. So do not let looks deceive you. And it's just like people look at Andy Ruiz and they just can't get over the fact that he's a fluffy, fat dude. You know what I'm saying? He looks like the comedian Fluffy, right? But the dude can box. When I watch him, he's got skills, he's got technique. A lot of people underestimate him. Even after the Anthony Joshua victory, I don't know why a lot of people just discredit him and say he's, a subpar heavyweight. This dude can really box, I'm telling you guys. I'm not saying he's gonna get to the top and win the heavyweight championship, but he can scrap, man. And I think he's a problem for almost every heavyweight. Deontay Wilder, if they get that matchup, if Wilder gets past Helenius, I think that would be a phenomenal fight. Obviously Wilder, if he's still somewhat Wilder, he can crack with that right hand. That's going to be very entertaining to see Wilder's power against Andy Ruiz's speed, power, and combinations, because we know Andy Ruiz can crack as well, as you saw last night and you've seen in the past. So to me, Ruiz, the big issue for him is he would have to get out of the way of that right hand. But he does have the boxing skill, IQ, and acumen to break Wilder down and get him out of there just as soon as Wilder does in his combinations. And I think that Ruiz stands a phenomenal chance because he has that pressure style. He can put Wilder on the back foot. He has the speed, he has the power, he has the combinations. That will be a very entertaining fight if it happens. And do not sleep on Ruiz. The only reason it would be hard to pick Ruiz because, you can touch him from time to time. And if Wilder touches you, can you make it out? That's the problem. Even you saw with King Kong in the past in Deontay Wilder. King Kong was outboxing Wilder, but all it took was one shot to put him on Queer Street. So that's the big issue with Wilder. The only man who's been able to deal with that power is Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. So I don't know if anybody else can deal with that. And even if you got the boxing skills, I don't know if you can survive that nuke on Deontay Wilder's right hand. But who knows? Maybe Wilder's not the same, and who knows? Maybe Ruiz will have just enough ability to dodge that right hand or get away from it or be able to withstand it. And then, in my opinion, if he can get past that right hand, I think he can beat Deontay Wilder. I'm telling you once again, Andy Ruiz can box. I don't get why people underestimate him. A lot of people after Anthony Joshua fight just couldn't make sense of it, that this big pudgy dude came in and beat him, beat this Adonis, this guy built out of, carved from marble and stone. But once again, do not judge a book by its cover in his sports. It's about technique and skills. This dude's been boxing for a long time, and the way he boxed King Kong Ortiz last night was very impressive. Ortiz is a slick southpaw. He's big, he's tall, he's rangy, he's got speed, he's got power, he's got experience. He comes from the Cuban pedigree of boxing. Do you know how hard it is to beat him? Not an easy thing to do, okay? And once again, the only reason Wilder beat him was because he had that, he had that thunder, he had that crack, and it was just one shot that changed the whole dynamics of the fight. King Kong Ortiz is probably still a top 10 heavyweight even after this loss. So we need to stop taking credit where credit is due. Andy Ruiz is a phenomenal boxer, and the fact that he showed a different element to his game last night was very impressive. He was very patient. He boxed off the back foot. He walked Ortiz into that right hand from the orthodox stance. It was very impressive. And he was even walking towards the power hand, obviously in a way to where he wasn't going to get hit too much, but he would angle off to the outside backwards towards the power hand, and then he would walk Ortiz into his right hand. That takes a very high IQ and very skilled. This is type Mayweather-esque type strategy. Mayweather used to fight southpaws all the time like that. So Ortiz showing this element, and not just showing it against some bum fighter, doing it against King Kong Ortiz was very impressive. Was very impressive. And for people saying that Ortiz won the fight, that is absolute garbage. I understand the volume to a certain degree, or he was jabbing a lot, but he was not the ring general last night. He was not dictating the tempo. He had pockets to where he was the ring general, but he wasn't consistent. Andy Ruiz got those knockdowns not just as a result of power. He got those from setting it up, from controlling the pace, controlling the tempo, walking Ortiz into those punches. Ortiz was the one having to follow what Andy Ruiz wanted to do. Okay, Andy Ruiz was dictating the pace of the fight and telling Ortiz what to do. And that's why Ortiz was desperate at the end to try and get a knockout, because he knew he knew he had no control over the fight. So he was trying to gain some control, or he was trying to get that knockdown or knockout to get back into the fight, because if he felt like he was winning on the scorecards, he wouldn't have pressed into Andy Ruiz when he already got knocked down 4 times. Think about that, you guys. For people saying that Ortiz won the fight on the scorecards. Well, if Ortiz felt that way, why would he press the action in the last round when he already been knocked down multiple times if he was ahead on the scorecards? Come on now. Stop. Stop your bias. Stop the race thing. I know what this has to, what it all is. Andy Ruiz is a great boxer. And to show that element to box off the back foot when he's usually coming forward, putting pressure, throwing combinations, very impressive. Now, obviously, there were times where I was a little bit concerned for Ruiz, not because I can see how the fans were getting bored at certain pockets in time, but that's the fight that Ruiz wanted to fight and felt that he could gain the best advantage. He put faith in his speed and power, his pot shots, and he was he showed patience. He showed phenomenal patience. He didn't let the crowd get in his head. He didn't get emotional from the crowd. He knew what he had to do and where to pick his points in the fight. And that shows brilliant IQ, discipline, and patience. So, look, we can look at the second Anthony Joshua fight. Andy Ruiz came in there a little, I guess you can say out of shape, fat and happy for sure, literally and metaphorically speaking. He came into that fight fat and happy, out of shape. He didn't do what he needed to do, and he didn't even get bombed out of there. It's not like he got knocked out or he got knocked down. Anthony Joshua played it really safe. He tried to outpoint him on the scorecards, and that was what it was. Then you see the Chris Arreola fight, and now a lot of people after that fight were very judgmental, saying, oh, well, he struggled with Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola is not even a top guy anymore. You got to understand, Chris Arreola is a veteran. Or veterans know how to survive. Veterans know how to cause problems. But you also have to think, one of Andy Ruiz's advantages is his size. Believe it, he has turned his size into an advantage from a that would usually be seen as a disadvantage. I think Andy Ruiz, being the size he is, causes a lot of problems for tall, big heavyweights. Almost what Mike Tyson did with his size. He turned his disadvantage into an advantage. And I think Ruiz likes facing bigger opponents. So when he went up against Arreola, it was kind of a tough stylistic matchup. And that's why styles make fights. You can be the heavyweight champ. You can beat like the top 5 guys and have an easy time with them. But then you go to number 10, who has this weird style or just has this weird disposition, and he gives you a hard time over the top 5 heavyweights in the division. That's how boxing goes. Styles make fights, and certain attributes cause problems for certain fighters. For Andy Ruiz, I think Chris Arreola is roughly around the same size, somewhat of a same style. I can't say same style, but somewhat, relatively similar. And the range, if not same in size, and at very least the range. And I think that kind of took away his advantage in being the undersized fighter, closing the distance with his speed, combinations, and power. And he wasn't able to be as deceptive in that fight. And then you're going against Arreola, who's a wily veteran. He's been in there with some killers like Wilder. So, yeah, that's it. But, you got to put things in perspective and context. Andy Ruiz can box. And do not get it twisted. If he goes against Wilder, he has a phenomenal chance at winning that fight if he can find a way to get out of the way of that right hand. He can win that fight. I think his boxing skills are significantly better than Wilder's. And if Wilder is not Wilder, and if Wilder can't land that right hand, or if Andy Ruiz can eat that right hand, he's going to get outboxed. There's a good chance Wilder can get knocked out. We already seen what happens to Wilder when you can push him on the back foot. Okay, with Tyson Fury. Now that's Tyson Fury, but I'm telling you, he's got respectable speed, power, and combinations. Combinations around heavyweight strong. That's the problem for anybody. Usyk, I don't think it's one matchup for Usyk. I don't know if he still has that edge. I could be wrong. That could make him a better fighter. Who knows? But, we'll see. He's working with Malik Scott. I think right now I'm looking on the mitts. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's back in the training. He hasn't been training for a while. But he doesn't look as sharp. In my opinion. But I like that he's a little bit more slimmer. He needs to go back to his old school version. That Tommy Hearns type long, lengthy frame, not bulky. That once again, use his speed, use his size as turning it into a slim, speed, power, traction, have it. Subscribe if you're new. We're building this channel. Better join the family. We're doing some pretty damn cool things. I'm bringing some cool technology to boxing. So stay safe, y'all.